Today, we will be focusing on requests in Accelo and request inboxes. My name's Tom, and I'm your host. I'm an account manager here at Accelo. I am also joined by my good friend and co-worker, Saga, who is a client success officer who will be primarily running the session today. I'm going to hand it over to Saga here. He's going to really, before I do, I'm going to quickly run through the agenda and then we can get going. I'm sure there's probably a couple other people trickling in as we wait. Today, so starting with just a general overview of what requests are inside Accelo, moving through some kind of different use cases and different types of request inboxes that we commonly see across all our clients, some general workflows in setting up these requests, including setting up the various inboxes that go along with them, managing and actioning these requests as they come in, primarily as emails, and then converting these emails into objects in Accelo. We're talking sales, tickets are the most common ones, both manually and also automatically through triggers. There is a Q&A function, so please feel free to submit any questions as we go, and we'll try our best to get to them. Yeah, I think that's about it. I'm going to hand it over to Saga and we can get going. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Tom. So the first thing on our agenda is what are requests? So requests may not have been something that you may have used in your previous tools or in Accelo just yet. So again, requests are to manage, track, and respond to client requests sent to your shared company addresses from a central inbox. So think about your personal inbox. So for example, for mine, it's sagar.gupta@accelo.com versus a request inbox that I oversee is support@accelo.com. So the differences are, if a client's emailing me directly, I'll have to respond to it, whenever I get time when I'm not on calls, versus on a support address, whoever's first available and sees a request coming in can immediately respond to get a faster answer to the client. So essentially, the goal is to give your team a place to work together to resolving or escalating sales tickets or projects that come in from your clients or even potential clients. And kind of moving forward, it's to prevent any trip ups, forgotten emails, or doubling up on work. So previously with the clients we work with, an email goes through a distribution list that goes to a variety of individuals, say, salesperson 1, 2, 3. Now, who's responsible for, responding to that email? That might have a few taps on the shoulder saying, did you respond to that? Oh, I assumed you responded to that. The idea with this request inbox is who's working on it, what has already been done, and then you can step in if nothing has been done just yet. So different types of request inboxes, or in other words, use cases. So here's just a couple examples of how we use it at Accelo. So you have email addresses like sales@Accelo, support@Accelo.com, accounts, best practices, implementation. And these are the different request inboxes, your sales, support, accounts, best practice, implementation, and then who actions these requests. So each of these inboxes notifies a number of different individuals. But what's nice is through this request inbox in Accelo, again, you can tell if, say, Tom has already actioned another request that came in, and then I can, action a different one. So we don't have to work on the same thing or even view the same thing, at the same time. So it starts with having your own email address. You set up a request inbox in Accelo, and that notifies your team, and then your team will action those requests in Accelo. So looking at that common workflow. So it starts with an initial inquiry from a client. It can be through an email, a web form, and if you're kind of familiar with our web forms API, it's relatively simple to have, say, a contact us or an info@ request come into a request queue where you can action it from there. The client portal. So a client can, create requests via the client portal for you. So you can, let your clients know that. Or your internal staff can create a request. And a common scenario is the sales team calls a support line for like sales and pricing questions. So we may create a request for our sales team to kind of follow up on that. Okay. So the next thing is, again, it goes to the request inbox. And at this point, it notifies your internal staff that is responsible for those request inboxes. It goes to an auto reply sent to the client. So it might be saying, here's what you can do based off, common questions. And this is, if you've ever emailed into support@Accelo, you'll notice that we have an auto reply that goes right back to you. Yep. And once it's in the request inbox, you can then go ahead and reply directly from the inbox. You can relocate to an existing object. So what if that request is relevant to a sale, project, ticket, or retainer? You can convert it into a new sale, project, or ticket. So for example, a client emails in saying they're looking to work with your team. You can then convert into a sale and then assign it to a sales member of your team. Or you can just go ahead and close it. And the idea of closing that request is just, it's taken care of. Maybe you're waiting for a client reply because when a client replies, it'll go back and then you can reply or to one of these two options. And one thing to note is you can automatically convert requests into, say, sales or tickets as probably the best examples. And, especially in the IT space, a lot of clients will email into support inquiry saying something's broken, and a lot of our IT clients would have it automatically converted over into a ticket. That being said, in different industries, you may have different kind of cases where certain request inboxes should be automatically converted into sales or tickets, whereas others shouldn't be. Again, feel free to ask any questions along the way. But otherwise, just kind of talking through the steps before we set it up live together. The first step is to set up a request type. The second setup is to set up conversions. So what can this request convert into? So think of your sales, tickets, and projects, and you can even name specific sales types or specific ticket types and such. Setting up a forwarding rule from your team inboxes from the current email to the request's capture email address. So think of your support at Accelo to your support at Accelo, I guess in this case, .accelo.com. So in other words, your, say, support at your domain name.com to support at domainname.accelo.com. Okay, again, we'll talk about that. And then potentially adding a trigger for certain requests. So you may have support inquiries that you want automatically converted into tickets is the example I used, and again, that's really the most common. We can add a trigger, and that's only in our premium module to escalate those inquiries. But otherwise, as you like to do in this webinar, let's do this together. So if you just give it a second, we're going to kind of zoom out and share a different screen. Okay, so we're pulling up one of our test accounts, this Oogly that we've used for previous webinars. And the first thing we're going to do is, where are requests in the system? Requests are hovering over your inbox, and they'll say support and sales. And you can allow these requests to show up by going to your preferences and choosing which requests you'd like to be kind of shown. So in this case, you can expand this. Again, we got here by hovering over your user icon, going to preferences, and then going to your request inbox, and you can choose which request inboxes you want to be kind of shown on the top right. So for example, if I come into our HQ account for Accelo, then I can see how many support requests are in there. So if there's, say, over 10, then maybe I can jump in and making sure the clients can get a faster answer. Versus if there's, say, 1 or 2, then I can probably let my colleagues handle that. Again, you can see your own personal inbox right above that. So again, separating your personal inbox from your team inbox. But right now we only have support and sales. So let's go ahead and set up a request type together. So if you hit that top left module button, and you go to your configuration, we're going to go and click requests. And under requests, we'll see a couple different options. And we're going to hit types. So as of right now, we have a support request type and a sales request type. So let's add an additional one in together. So just something common, you might have, say, help desk. This is a common example. So this. Allowing emails to come into this request queue. You have an incoming capture address. So the idea is you may have helpdesk@oogly.com. All you'll need to do is forward it into helpdesk@oogly.accelo.com. Again, this will be in your, say, your Google G Suite account or your Office 365 account. These are called your distribution list in your Office 365 account or a Google group in your G Suite account. So you need to set up a forwarding rule into this email address. This is how our system captures those email addresses. Next, it's who do you want to allow to come into this request inbox? And in most cases, again, I'd recommend the second option, just because from our experiences, a lot of individuals tend to use their personal addresses by accident, or by accident or whichever kind of is convenient to them, which, you know, we will add them as a lead and convert them into a contact if we reply. We just don't want to, you know, negate any emails coming in, so we'll only add the requester, in other words, sender, if we can match it to an existing company, just because, again, I might use my sagar.gokdat@gmail.com email address, and then it may not be captured by those that are choosing that first option. Okay. So as we talked about earlier, should we allow this to the client portal? Sure. And invite to the client portal. I tend to keep this off just because we like to kind of limit who is kind of shown to the client portal from our clients. And again, it's really up to you. You know, but we tend to limit it to the admin members of the team. Okay. Then you have a user notification. So who can see these emails that are necessarily coming in? So you may have Sagar, you may have Nick. Let's just add a couple individuals here. So any request that's created in this inbox will then notify Nick, Sagar, and Tom. Okay. Again, you can also just add in a separate group, or you can just have one individual or no individuals. You can also have a dedicated activity address. So for example, you may have helpdesk@accelo.com. In other words, say oogly.com. So anytime a response comes in, you will respond from helpdesk@oogly.com, right? Rather than your own personal address. So for example, if you ever just send in a support inquiry to, say, a national corporation, say like T-Mobile as an example, you may have different people reply, but it's the same email address. It's your support@tmobile.com. Right? Similarly, you can set up your own help desk and say any reply comes in, it might be, say, one individual, say Tom, and maybe Adam the next time. It'll still all come back from the same email address. But again, you can personalize it a bit more and just have it say sagar.gokdat@accelo.com replying. You can also set up an auto reply using the different merge fields. So when a client emails into helpdesk@oogly.com, they get an auto reply saying, hi. You can put in, say, first name. Thanks for sending in an inquiry. And you can say like support, like Oogly support. And then just come. So you can set up these, auto replies just so your clients can get basically a notification that you've received this inquiry. And let's turn this off for now. But otherwise, I'm going to save this type. Now that we've saved this type, what we can do is also look at conversions. So we've set up the request type, but what can this convert into? So at the moment, we have three different options: new ticket, new sales opportunity, and new project. These are conversions found on the left-hand side. So we can add in separate conversions for specific ticket types. Well, this is a test account that may not have separate ticket types. Let's take a look. Yeah, so there doesn't have any separate ticket types, but say you want a default, which might be, say, your bugs. You can go ahead and create a conversion saying new bug. Okay. We can default the progressions, the activity classes, say problems. Potentially this can be automated to automatically convert. And now we have new bug here. What it allows us to do is go to help desk and add in a new conversion. So again, we're still all working in the admin configurations under types and conversions. And in this case, we're just adding that this can convert into a new bug or say new sales opportunity. Again, we're customizing it just a bit further. Okay. Again, feel free to ask any questions along the way. But lastly, we can also set this to automatically create into a ticket. Again, we're going to talk about that in just a bit, but kind of just seeing how this can happen. say automatic conversion once per request for any request that comes in, and we'd like to convert that request into one of those options. Say new bug. And if you turn this trigger on, then all of requests that come into this request type, say help desk, will automatically be converted. Here. So just taking a quick look at it. For each rule that's satisfied, the action will take place. What's important to note is if you're already using this request inbox, what you may want to do is have another rule for the created date is after, a certain date. So in other words, after today, rather than converting every former request that was already in the system. But otherwise, kind of taking it, so now that we've set up, say, this request type, now let's take this and see, what can come out of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just email into this given request. So if you give me a second. Again, you can email into that helpdesk@accelo.com anyway. But I'm going to hit that top left module button and then hit requests. Again, ideally, you'll set up that request to just be here, so you can hover over your inbox and then go to that inquiry. Okay. So as of right now, we have two different requests in the platform. Okay. One was from 9 days ago, and one was from the day that this account was started. So if you give me one more second, I'll give you just another example. Okay. So from this request queue, these are actioning each inquiry that's coming in. Again, you can have different, say, types of requests that come in. And also, you can also create requests. So just a few different options, and there's different kind of use cases and scenarios for each one. So an email that might come into this request queue, this could be because you provided your client, say, the help desk email address or the sales or support email addresses, which they can inquire from. Again, you can have that web form, you can have the client portal, and all of those options. But say Sagar went ahead and emailed you saying, I want your services. This is an example request from Accelo. Now it might get a little bit confusing because I have a test Sagar account, but otherwise from here, now you have, say, 3 emails. You may have 3, say, sales members on your team. Now, who's going to be working on which one? What you can do is if you hit reply or claim, an individual can claim one request at a time. So if Tom's working on this request queue, then Tom can go ahead and work on, say, Apple with Steve Jobs because he knows that Sagar is working on this request. You can hit reply, and you can have an email that's kind of, basically prompting you to send an email to Sagar. And you can send that reply in. Or you can just go ahead and relocate this to an existing sale. Say Sagar has already emailed you what he's looking for. You can then just go ahead and hit relocate and go to an existing sale if there was one already available. In this case, it does seem like there is one, and you can relocate that request. Okay. Or you can reply and then relocate. What we like to do with our support team is if we reply and we're waiting for the client, we just close it out. And if the client replies again, it comes back into our request queue. So in other words, we're closing it out for now. Client replies, it comes back into our queue. Okay. Otherwise, you can just go ahead and convert these over. So you remember we were adding in one of those conversion options, so sales and bugs. You can go ahead and convert these requests over into, say, a sale or bug directly from here. Okay. So again, emails that come in, web forms, and you may have a call, which just an example, you may have a call that comes in for the sales team, but you're on the support team. You can go ahead and put in, say that, sales request type. he's looking for a new website as an example, and hit save request. If you hit refresh, then it would show up. So you can create requests. Again, it doesn't have to be a call-in. It's maybe you need the support team to take care of something, or you may need the accounts team to take care of something, or your interns, or whoever needs to get a queue of work. You can potentially use requests for that purpose as well. So a lot of just different use cases. It might, there's standard use cases, and then there might be creative use cases that you may come up that we're happy to help you with if you email into our support at Accelo request inbox. Okay. So just an example, if you go here and you convert this over into, say, a bug, you'll notice that this will populate with the title and description for that ticket. Okay. And again, it just simplifies that process. We want a streamlined process in Accelo where all your client inquiries can come in, and then you can go into, say, the sales module, project module, or ticket module. Okay. But otherwise, just kind of taking a few steps back. If I want to add this request inbox, just to finish it off, just go into your user preferences, go down, and hit save. And now, when you come into Accelo, you'll have that help desk request inbox as well. Okay. So, it's not uncommon for clients to have 5 to 10 request inboxes. It's, really up to you and what kind of use cases you'd like. Sometimes, you may even have a client-specific email address. You may have a VIP client, and you can potentially use this as an upsell opportunity to say, oh, we're going to charge you $500, and we have a direct line to our admin team. And that could be just really through a request inbox, and as simple as that. So think about how creative you want to get in different use cases, and then feel free to send that over to, say, bestpractices@accelo.com or just support@accelo.com, and Tom and I or whoever else is on the queue that day will be happy to take care of it.